Well, hello, hello, hello. Good evening. I wear my sunglasses at night because I'm too old to remember to take them off in the day. Anyway, hello everybody. I'm here. It is blame it on the drink. What was that Jamie Foxx said? Blame it on the this. Um I am so excited to be here. I'm beginning to look more and more forward to Bathroom Moments After Dark with every passing week. I don't know if it's quarantine, I don't know what it is, but I'm loving the people that are coming on the show, and tonight is no exception. Where is my bell of purpose? I know it's from the morning show, but I want to use it tonight. I am. Here it is. Oh, there it is. What is that? That's your opportunity. That's my opportunity. That is the opportunity for anyone who is looking for a way to become a part of something greater than themselves to do that. When you hear our guests say something that you go, "Ooh, that's a good one," maybe you throw something on the screen or someone else that's watching, something that may drop it off. When it's dropped off, we're saying, I'm going to pick that up. That's when you're going to hear the bell of purpose, and that's when you get a chance to hit the share button, start a watch party, or just invite a person or two to come and join in the fun. So there it is, the bell of purpose. I am so excited. Welcome to this Wednesday's installment of Bathrobe Moments After Dark. Tonight, my guest is Mr. Scott Free, SC. Oh, I get it now. Okay, he's like, okay, Scott Free. Oh my goodness. How did that just now click and connect? Senior moment. Scott Free, SCOTFREE is here with us tonight. He is someone with I can't wait to get into the stories that this guy's gonna have for us. I was waiting. I thought for sure there would have been some kind of Hummer or a limo or something like that pulling up and not so I'd know he was here, but all I saw was a bevy of camels and some geisha girls or something. Two different worlds meeting. Oh, is that him now? Okay, can you tell I'm winging it tonight? Geisha girls and a bevy of camels have nothing to do with each other. But anyway, not impossible for Scott C. Free. Oh, you look like you're in your own version of a Starbucks or something, but I know that's not the case. Where are you tonight? And who are you? Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm actually coming to you live from the Tenderloin Children's Playground in San Francisco's notorious Tenderloin neighborhood. It's the end of our day today. It's 5 o'clock here. We're California time, so
right. It's a children's what?
It's a children's playground, and
wow.
It's summer camp. We're of course COVID aware and being as careful as possible, but yeah, it's an adjustment, and the kids want to get out and do something, and we have little summer activities for them. This has been my routine for the past 2 weeks now.
Okay.
I work at the city of San Francisco, and it's just sort of like a gig that I took, and I've actually been enjoying it.
How many kids?
I never thought I'd be working with children in all my years, but yeah, there's about 36 kids. So it's
wow.
We have them in little 3 different pods. So it's three pods of 12. And that's part of the COVID regulations, is to keep the groups as small as possible.
Sure. So Scott, you're out in San Francisco and you're an entertainer. You've done everything. Stage, television, movies, just about everything. And now, okay, so let's talk about kids real quick. So, well, not really kids, but let's talk about, I'm surprised that kids are going to camp. So what's it like out there with this COVID thing and the reopening of your community? Can you guys go to bars? Can you go to the health club? What's it like out there?
No, well, in fact, I think that it's happening. There's a rollback. I think we're a little bit afraid that we may have been premature in trying to get back to some semblance of reality. But I mean, we've been wearing masks the whole time, of course.
Sure.
When we go to the market and things like that. But there was a period where we were all. I only left the house so I could go to the grocery store, and it was
very,
very depressing and very lonely. And it's a whole new way of being in the world,
the new normal.
You become right. Yeah, I think it's affecting our mental health, really.
Now I want you to put your hand up to the camera so I can slap it real quick. Because what you've done is I can't even like I half the jokes and things that I want to use, I start to formulate them to get them ready to toss out, but then I remember you're in a children's center. So then I go, oh shit, I can't do it. So I actually feel
Well, it's
guilty about
after
breaking.
the children have gone now, so it's
They I
just
know, but their spirits remain. I'm like,
yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Oh no, no, I'm gonna keep
Well,
it
also
clean tonight.
the tenderloin is a different experience in general. I don't know if you've ever done any.
Tell me about that. The name in and of itself is intriguing. The Tenderloin District. I picture a
Yeah,
bunch of steakhouses.
exactly.
Is
Well,
it?
it's always had a long history of vice, I guess you could say, prostitution, and
Ooh.
a lot of the pornography industry was
Oh yeah. We
and here.
watched a show that was based out there, and it was that's right. And they mentioned that place. Okay, go
Yeah,
on.
like the 50s and 60s, going back. And there's a Tenderloin in New York as well, I believe.
Really?
And I think it's just there have been different explanations as to how they come up with that name, but I think it's, if you were to look at a butcher's, what do they call it?
A butcher's what?
Uh,
Penis.
you how they describe the meat on a cow, the
Penis.
tenderloin. Yeah, it's kind of like where it falls in the in the on the map. It would be like
Oh
if
yeah, yeah,
the,
yeah, yeah.
if the
Like the
city where a
sections
piece
of
of
the
beef.
right.
Yeah, it's where the tender.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
So,
Okay, I got it. I got it. I got it. Okay. So let me ask you this. Last month, June, we just got into July today.
and
So
happy birthday,
thank you. Oh, and thank you for
your
I thought you
independence baby. Yeah,
I am. I am. And my husband's all upset because we can't really do much this year. So
yeah,
many things. But I mean, it's true. I'm not trying to catch anything. You know what I
yeah.
mean? So yeah, I can deal with it. I mean, I'll just do a
Go to
big deal
Iceland.
when I
There's
turn
no
60.
there's no COVID in Iceland at all. If you can get on a plane and get there.
Iceland.
Iceland, yeah, I'd love to visit Iceland.
Is it beautiful? It's frozen though. Oh, hi goes one of the kitties.
No, it's actually it's not there's a lot of volcanoes and a lot of natural hot springs and things like that there. So
Hot springs. We like
I've,
that.
I've only I mean I've never actually well you spoke to my friend Heclina who is actually
Yes.
headed there in the next week or two, I think.
Why am I not surprised?
Because
Heclina.
I mean her mother is from Iceland.
Really? Oh, that's right. That's right. I remember that
Yeah.
from the bio. You're absolutely right. So let's talk about you.
Yeah.
So let me tell you something. When I was looking at all the different things about you, prepping for this show, my your transformation was just incredible, and you've been doing some of everything. You have so many different looks. I would not know one from the other. I would never think that all those different faces could belong to one person. So how did you get started? Where were you when you first had the inkling that I think I should head towards show business and the bright lights? Where were you?
Oh, I think I was in the womb. I was doing dips and twists and kicks and twirls. I'm the baby of the family, and I used to always I was lip syncing for my brothers and sisters when
Really?
I was like 5 years old. I would just get this inspiration. I didn't even really know what a drag queen was or anything like that. I mean, of course, we had Cher. She's the closest thing to a drag queen I ever saw at that point in my life, on television
Oh
and
yeah,
people.
yeah, yeah. Oh yeah.
So, and I would do that old, I'd put a towel on my head,
We were just talking about that
like
the other
that.
last week.
That was the Cher move, flipping down
Yes, you're right,
the
right.
towel.
Without it flying off your head.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I think there's a lot of boys from my generation who count Cher as one of
Absolutely.
their icons of. And I saw her live, and I actually got to meet her in person. I couldn't believe it. It was
I did too once.
during the 2016 election cycle. She came
Really?
through.
Let me tell you how I met her. And she didn't have one stitch of makeup on.
Mm-hmm.
None. And she didn't have a wig on. Her hair was really short and it was cut in a bob. I met her in 1988 at a place on Sunset Boulevard in LA called the Face Place. And
Mm-hmm.
she would come there, but I was there because I had something going on with a business I had started, and that's that People Magazine thing back there. And anyway,
Mm-hmm.
Scott, the owner of the Face Place, he was we were giving out gift certificates to his place, and so I met him at like 6 in the morning. He goes, "Oh, we're closed, but I'm gonna just tell you, there's gonna be a black Porsche that pulls up front, and it's gonna be a high profile client of ours, and she comes in before we open, and so just act like you don't see her, blah 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 blah." And I said, "Well, who is it?" He goes, "Oh, there she is right now. It's Cher." I was like, "Cher!" And so and then but then I was so shocked because she was so skinny, and I don't know. Well, this is what they told me. And she was moving kind of like she was in pain. And you know what they told me why she was walking like that? I mean, maybe you know about this. They told me that she had just had her her pelvis crushed. That gives her back the hourglass figure because she had the Vegas show back then. And she was still healing. She had on these leg warmers. It was 1988. Leg warmers and the lycra pants, the black ones. And then her hair was very short. And she was just like, "I'll meet you upstairs." And she went upstairs. And it did mess with my head because I'm used to saying, "Born half breed," you know what I mean? And all of that. Moon, what was that movie? Moonstruck.
Moonstruck.
I was hoping for that version to walk in because I just love her in that coat and those heels and that dress. Yeah, that's who I wanted. But anyway, it was still Cher.
Yeah, totally. That voice is what it's iconic. That's her main thing.
How many decades? Like 6 decades of music straight through.
She just had her 74th birthday, so
doesn't look it at all.
The Sonny and Cher show was early 70s.
Right. Yeah. So what year did you step on a stage for the very first time? Tell us about it. Tell us about, I loved it when I now what do you believe you're a female? Which one of these do you think is more accurate to your type of entertaining? Female impersonator or drag queen? Or is there a difference?
Well, I guess maybe a female impersonator probably takes it a lot more seriously and wants to be like a Barbara impersonator or a Cher impersonator for that matter, or a celebrity. I don't necessarily try to do a celebrity impersonation. Obviously, I mean, I call myself Pippi, like the little child Pippi
Longstocking.
Longstocking with the pirates and all that. Because actually, we actually would be the same age. I mean, when those films were being made, I was the same age as the little actress that was portraying that character. Of course, there have been other actors that played that part. But.
Well, what year did you actually step on stage for the very first time inside of a drag persona?
Well, I would say it was 1990 or maybe 1988. Because you see, I the first movie I ever did that I was a freshman in college in Wilmington, North Carolina, and it was called Blue Velvet, starring Isabella Rossellini and Kyle MacLachlan, and David Lynch was the director. So,
well, that's a pretty big start.
I was really amazed by and Laura Dern was she was playing a high school kid, and I was a high school kid as well. I was 18 years old, so I was just a background extra, and I was at the party.
Were you hot?
Well, when you're 18, it's hard.
Who isn't hot at 18, right? That's what my husband always says. He's always like, "Yeah, it's easy when you're 23."
But you don't have to. Yeah, a lot of times you may not have the self-esteem or the self-worth, all that kind of those issues.
Well, here you are getting in chosen to be. You auditioned, I'm assuming.
Well, I was just, extras are basically just living set decorations. So they liked the way I looked. I was the right age and the right category. And so, there's a casting director that.
So did you go home after that first day on the set and lay there and dream of being a star, or what? How did it go? How did it go for you? I mean, it sounds like you almost didn't plan this.
Well, I knew that I was gay, but I knew it wasn't really okay or acceptable to be the way I was. Although when I was on a film set, I'd say, "Oh no, this is where the queer people are."
So it was a very even platform for people back then. If you were gay or straight, when you were on the set, everybody belonged.
Not necessarily, actually. I mean, you might be surprised at how conservative and Republican and homophobic a lot of movie stars were and continue to be. It was 1986, so the world was a different place. But for me, I grew up in a small town in North Carolina. It's called Benson, and they have like a Mule Day celebration. Everybody's like a Southern Baptist Christian, and They're very, homophobia, racism, all those things that you
All those
expect.
great qualities. Yes.
Good old
Yes,
fashioned American
baby.
values.
Yes. Racist,
So,
homophobics. Yes. The cream of
but
the crop. So
and
go
and
ahead. Go ahead.
well, I mean, it was, I think, pretty apparent to a lot of anybody that met me, and especially the casting directors and stuff. They thought I looked okay, but I acted too gay. So I
Mm,
was not going to be, I wasn't leading man material. Uh, I, I, I mean, I even did some print work. I mean, I weighed about 120 pounds less than I do now.
sure.
So
Sure. Tell me about it.
I had a big head of hair, good looking 18
All,
year old.
all the all the all the requirements.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but anyway, so Wilmington happened to have a film studio that was built by Dino De Laurentiis, and so Blue Velvet was the first movie that I got on the set, but there were several others afterwards. Drew Barrymore was living there at the same time I was living there. She was a child star, and she was
Mm-hmm.
there. She did a movie there, and so I got on another movie right after that, Raw Deal. What it was called. It was an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, and then I was used as a stand-in, which is a little better than being an extra. So that meant I
What's
was
the difference?
well, you're really working with the crew. You're like one of the actors, but you're not really on camera. You stand there and you do the scene before they shoot the scene with the actor. So
Mm-hmm.
Robert Davi was the actor, if you know who that is.
I do.
I'm the same height and hair color, and I mean, of course, I was like 20 years old. So, but
Mm-hmm.
I was working with all these Italian guys, the Dino De Laurentiis crew, and it was interesting, fun, exciting. And I
And
was
you were still living in North Carolina?
I was in college at UNC.
Okay. So
So,
how did you find your way all the way out to the San Francisco area? How
well,
did that come about?
well, I decided to leave Wilmington and go to Atlanta so I could be in a bigger city, and I started
Okay.
getting more opportunities in Atlanta. And then I met this guy that I liked in Atlanta, and
Mm.
he was actually living out here in San Francisco. So I followed him out here, and of course we didn't really develop a relationship. I think, like a lot of people that end up in San Francisco, they are able to find their tribe. If you know what I mean. Like I think
Yeah.
in especially in the gay community, you might have your little gay ghetto or your gay group that you become a part of, and you stay in that group. But out in San
Right.
Francisco, I found it was very bohemian, and there was a lot more to life than just being gay all the time, which that's fine, that's who you are.
Right.
But
Or just being gay and hanging out in bars and this. I know what you're talking about because I remember when I saw
there's
my
an
first
art
couple.
scene. There's music and art and a lot of creative people and intellectual people, and so
Mhm.
and of course it's beautiful. The landscape,
Oh yeah.
the cliffs, the ocean, a lot of the things that I like were here. And so, I mean, I ended up here in 1991.
So was that where you saw drag and it was like, wow, I want to be a part of this? Where did you get that? Where did
Well, the
that?
drag, I had started doing the drag in Atlanta. I was
Oh, you
doing,
had.
yeah, in fact, RuPaul was at the same public access TV station as I was in Atlanta. He did this something called American Music Show, and there was this really funny
As a
kind of,
drag queen, or was he
yeah.
fooling people?
Well, in those days, he did a lot more kind of uh, gender fuck, I guess you call it. I don't know. Where it's just
Explain it. Explain what you're talking
not
about. Yeah.
necessarily not really necessarily full going for the looking like a real woman, just makeup, maybe no breasts, and just like a flashy, like
Like a
Sylvester.
Boy George kind of thing.
Yeah, or Sylvester. Sylvester.
Sylvester. Yeah. Remember him. Yeah. Okay.
So
And Grace Jones did it from the opposite side.
exactly. So
Right. Right.
yeah.
Right. Okay.
Of course, he was definitely very ambitious, and it was always doing the self promotion, which that's what people have to do, and they do it on social media now. But back in those days, he would
There
just
was right.
he'd pass out he'd put flyers all over Atlanta and post pictures and posters of himself anywhere he could, and so he was
Did he
definitely.
look like the RuPaul that we see on Drag Race?
Oh no, not
So
at all. He had a baby face. He's had some surgical procedures now, and
yeah, oh no, child, look, Aquilina put all the dirt out there when she was on the show. Did you not see that time when he didn't have a makeup crew? Oh,
Yeah.
she went on and on. It was like, I
Oh,
was like, oh my
yeah.
God, girl.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want her to know.
Plus, he might be 60 if he's not. He's close to it if he's not
Gotta
already 60.
be. I'm
Yeah.
58 in 2 days, and I grew up looking up to,
Hmm.
you know.
So yeah, and
So did you see? So tell me, when was it? It started. When did it start? Let's talk about that because there's a lot of young kids and people that are family members of young kids, or maybe not so young. But when a person starts developing um, the in their kaleidoscope or their viewmaster of where they want to go in their life, and they see this opportunity for female impersonation, how do you make that decision? Aren't you afraid that, oh my God, I would have freaked out? Like, oh my God, I want this. It wouldn't have stopped me. It would not have stopped me. But I know
yeah.
me. Yeah. So talk about that if you can. What did you
Well, I mean,
think?
I wasn't necessarily like I didn't want to be look like any particular person, like Liz Taylor or whatever. Or, I mean, I suppose I could have made that effort if I wanted to, and I had. So once in a while, I would try to do the pretty makeup and stuff like that. But I was just more in it for the fun and the laughter that comes with it, and usually getting drunk and going out to the clubs and partying and all that sort of thing. That's
It
part
takes a lot, though. I mean, okay. So did somebody help you dress up, and you saw yourself and said, "Wow, I make a pretty girl. Let me do this." And then,
yeah.
so that's what happened. And then it turned into,
No, well, I was actually able to do a lot of the stuff myself because I wasn't necessarily going for that glamour look right away. But yeah, I have had people that were good makeup artists and knew how to paint really well. So I just like RuPaul, they were talking like Kathleen was talking about RuPaul with the makeup
yeah,
crew. So
right.
yeah, I mean, some people who really know how to paint, they can get into pulling your face back, and they use elastic bands to give you an eye lift and all that sort of stuff. So of course,
It's
today
just incredible. I think they should have like Emmys and stuff for
for
drag.
makeup,
Yeah, yeah, for all
yeah,
those people, for the wardrobe people, for
uh-huh.
the makeup, the hair people, all of it, because all of those. That's the one thing I can say that I've learned a lot about from watching RuPaul's Drag Race is all of those components, the
Hmm.
hips and the breastplates and all the.
Yeah,
I don't know how they
it's
do it.
it's a huge, it's an industry now. I mean, Heclina took me to the drag con. It's a convention now, and I just can't believe, it's millions of dollars that people can invest in all these things, from head to toe, the
Because
clothing.
back then in the 80s, where did okay, what size shoe do you wear?
Well, I would shop at the Payless. And
Girl,
luckily for me,
wait.
women,
Hey,
women
Les.
women of
Oh,
color where I lived in Atlanta, they
I
wore a
was
lot
gonna
of
say,
shoes that I liked. So thank God for black ladies back in my early days, because they would shop at the same places I would go to and
hey,
buy the same
Les.
kind of shoes and stuff. Yep.
So, but the size, because I have a
I
wide
actually
foot,
kind of
they would
small.
have never had.
I could wear a size 11 in women's, size maybe a 12,
What size you wear in guy shoes, men's shoes?
10 or 11,
And
same
so
price.
you can go and find shoes in a. So now they go online and they can go
Oh
and
yeah.
buy. They got drag queen sites with big shoes this big. You know, you
Hold
could
on.
be.
Yeah, I mean, there are people out there size 14, and I know
Yes.
I know a queen down in Palm Springs. She wears a size 14, but she carries it off very well.
See,
She left her shoes out. I was like, well, who left these boats laying around in the middle of the?
yeah, that's some cutting words there for some of them. So,
Yeah.
okay. So let's imagine. Take us back to the very first time that you were transformed. You did yourself. You painted yourself.
Yeah.
What about that first time you were in somebody's chair and they turned you away from the mirror and they did their thing and they spun you? No, they did. They spun you around and you saw what they created. Talk about that experience because a lot of people that do this, I've heard them say that it's a very liberating, a very free, that you find things out about yourself.
Hmm.
through that
Yeah, I mean,
experience. Talk
I
about
think
that.
that's true. Well, when you get out into the world and you get the reactions of the other people, and I was doing the club scene for a long time in the early '90s in San Francisco, and I met so many straight men that I was surprised to find were interested in me sexually, which was a nice bonus. And
As a drag queen or as a
yeah,
man?
as a drag queen, and they knew that I was not a woman, so that was part of the fun for them. And then there are a lot of straight men who enjoy dressing up as women as well. I mean,
Right.
and they want to have sex with a woman while they're being
Dressed
feminine.
as a woman.
Yeah, so I
So
think
wait a
that.
minute. Let's go back to the sex part as a drag queen.
Uh-huh.
Because I when Heclina was on the show, I told a story about the drag queen that got away. That's what I call that story. And I tell you what, I learned a lot. I learned a lot because I was just like a freshman in college when this happened
Yeah.
at age. And I went to, it was in South Bend, Indiana, a little club known as the Seahorse. And my two friends from high school, we would sneak over there, and we were 17 and we had ID that said we were 38 and 40 and stuff like that. But they let us in. They didn't care. As long as the police, as long as it's you
Yeah,
and the police,
as long as you had your
right?
ID.
Back in the good old days. And I kept seeing this drag queen every week, really good, gorgeous. Da, da, da. That was back when Sheena Easton was "For Your Eyes Only" back in those days,
Oh,
right?
oh yeah.
So we saw her up there, and I was like, oh. And then she talked to me outside the club about going on a date dressed and I was like, I don't think so, right? And then very next week, we get out of the club and there's an alley there, as there always is. And there's this Harley Davidson and a guy, and George Michael was out there. And anybody that looked like George. So, but he looked like the George Michael from Faith with the leather and the boot and little shadow stuff. And it was leaning up against the brick wall. It was like something from a movie. He was like, come here. And I was like, and my friends are like, go, go. And I go up and he goes, remember last week? And I said, you were here last week. And I said, yeah. And he goes, remember how, he says, you may not remember this, but you were really rude to me. I was like, huh? He goes, I was asking you out on a date, but you didn't even say anything about, no, or what do you look like as a guy? Or what do you look like outside of, you didn't ask me if I'm a performer. You didn't ask me anything about me. But you gave me all those tips when I was up there. I said, well, I enjoyed the show, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't know who he was talking about. I still didn't put it together.
Uh-huh.
But then he said, remember Diana? And it's my name is David.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, whoa. So I was trying to change my tune and backtrack. It was too late. The damage was done. But I'm going to tell you something. The reason I tell that story from time to time is because it really did teach me a life lesson about what's important about, because he really said, if you'd have just taken a few minutes, you would have met the me that you see right now. Through
Mm-hmm.
everything that you were looking at, it's still me. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to show that to you, which is why I was asking you out. And I learned a lot. I felt really bad. I
Yeah.
felt really bad. And so much so that I've never forgotten that all these years, that experience. So I
Mm-hmm.
want to ask you this. For you personally, what was it like when you would go to do the deed, with somebody as that persona? What was let's pick one of the names you used to have. What was one of your early stage names back when let me
Oh, that
guess.
was always called Pippi. Yeah.
Oh, so they
Yeah.
had that young little girl thing too. Hippie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So would you stay in character even during the deed?
Well, no, no. I mean, because obviously, if you're going to be having sex, you're going to need to take your clothes off, and
Well, true, but they already know what's underneath it.
yeah, I think. Well, sometimes that's part of the
But did
fantasy.
the wig come off? Did the eyelashes come off? Did the
Well, when I was younger, that's what I would prefer to do. But then later on, I just, you can sort of half drag it, and just keep your wig and your lipstick on, and until
yeah,
it gets
right?
it
Yeah.
gets
Look, I got half an eyelash. Take it or leave it. Right?
exactly. So, I mean,
Hand me my Coors Light.
once you've already gone that far that they're there and vulnerable and naked in your bed,
Oh,
I
right,
don't think you have to worry about keeping up the. But it's entirely your
right.
call. Everybody's got their own procedure.
Well, now I
Actually,
want to. Now what
my
I want to do
is
is hear
practically.
about. Now what I want to do is hear about your performance. I'm gonna tell you something. That picture, I wish I'd have put it here, brought it here, so I could have thrown it up on the screen. It was in your promo where you had the red dress on and you were kind of sitting with your legs akimbo.
Uh-huh.
That, I mean, that photo, that picture spoke. That told me just what a great actor you are.
Mm.
Because it was just so. It was just absolute perfection.
Oh, thank
Seriously, you should have that picture blown up and put in a gilded frame and put that in your will. So they will fight over it.
you. Okay. Well, that Jose would be glad to hear that. Jose Guzman is the one who took the picture.
That was a beautiful picture.
Yeah, he's sort of the kind of I don't know if he's a photographer of the drag race queens. So most of those drag race queens have been photographed by
Well,
him.
there you go. There you
Turned
go.
that
No,
his whole career. So
well, it definitely speaks to his talent, but also yours. So tell me something. What is the thing that you? What if you were to? If I had to ask you, Scott, what was the greatest joy that you received from? See, people think that female impersonators, it's all about picking up. He just got kicked. Oh, there you are. Okay,
oh,
scare me
I
again.
think maybe my power might be getting sort of low here on the phone.
Girl, look, let me look. My heart, I was like, where'd he go? You know, you can't be doing that to somebody who's a couple days away from 58 because I can see it next week all over my platforms. Well, he almost made it, you know, because
Well,
he
it's me
got
who's gonna
close.
be that's gonna die off, not you. So don't worry about
Thank
it.
you.
If I
So
suddenly disappear, it might be because the power level got so
that's
low.
okay. I'm going to wait for you to come back. Just come back in. Let me ask you something. Scott, what is it when you're out there and you're performing and the people are just, it's not the money. I've heard this so many times. It's not the tips, but it's the feeding off the energy of the crowd. What was it addictive? Was it something that was like, oh my God, this is just the best thing ever? You
Yeah,
started
that is
performing.
true. Well, I mean, I think particularly like when you're doing stand-up comedy and you're talking, it's like you're having a conversation, although you're doing all the talking, and hopefully they're laughing at the points that you want them to laugh. So, yeah, there's a certain kind of an indescribable connection that you feel when you're doing a live performance, and I think the only way to really experience it yourself is to do it yourself. And now, if you're an actor in a movie or a commercial or something like that, obviously you're not going to be able to feel that same way. That's why live performances are so particular. I mean, I think that's why a lot of great actors love to do live stuff.
So, Scott, let's talk about that for a second. When you were going out, so did you do this like come in and out of, you could be on stage on a Saturday night
Uh,
as Pippi and then go on an audition for just a regular background or a character actor on Monday.
mhm.
Were you able to pull that off?
Yeah, and of course, I mean, I sold myself as a drag queen too. They like to use drag queens sometimes in TV shows, and the next job I got in Wilmington, like 1986, was in a nightclub where I was a drag queen performer at this nightclub. So it was, it's just something on my resume. I mean, I do ca- hobo characters, or I can be a monster or a zombie or a clown. And I was,
I saw that clown. I got to think about clowns.
that's a scary clown. Yeah.
Yes, I can't. No,
Well, they're not. It's
no.
not much different from a drag queen.
Oh
It's
my God, yes, there is. There's something
yeah,
about clowns, and especially those ones that yours was very creepy. I can tell you
yeah.
right now, I had those lines across like it had been stitched shut. It's my no,
Well,
nope,
that was actually a Halloween thing that I was doing. So yeah, it was
no.
supposed to be creepy. But
Yeah, it was very creepy. I don't play with clowns.
mm,
I don't play with them. Leave me alone, clown. Leave me alone. So listen. When you first started doing female impersonation, what about your family? Yes, some people, some families I've heard, it's no problem. You're gay. I get it. Okay, or whatever. You're my brother, my cousin, my nephew, my grandson. I love you. But when you come walking in, or they hear that you're going out dressed as a woman, it can be a game changer. Did you experience any of that? And if so,
well,
how'd you deal with it?
see, I'd already had plenty of homophobia all the way, all the way up to my adult years. So my attitude was like, take it or leave it. And I'm not. I left home long ago. I really didn't have any plans to return to North Carolina, and I wanted to live my life the way that I wanted to. And of course, there were so many other issues and problems that had come along. I mean, we were living with the AIDS pandemic for so long. That's why I think people like me and you, our generation, has already been through the AIDS epidemic when nobody, it felt like nobody cared. And,
Right.
especially in the South, a lot of people were like, well, the people who are dying, they need to die. The Lord doesn't want, and this is God's punishment.
That was the mindset.
I heard that more than once. So, I mean, I
Me
think
too.
it made me feel a little bit like, fuck you. I'm going to do what I want to do because I didn't know if I was going to get it or if I'd even live to be 30, 40. And here I am, past the age of 50. So, but
thank you. Right.
It puts things in perspective. And I did. A lot of my friends did die of AIDS.
Mine too.
During the 90s, I was kind of shell shocked because I was working in a bar situation. So
you were living in San Francisco during the AIDS crisis?
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's like being
out
inside of a movie set itself.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, every week there's people disappearing, just like poof, poof.
Yeah, you would say, like, you would have a conversation with someone, like, and then a week later you'd find out, oh, did you hear that Wayne died or so and so died? And I was like, really?
How did you deal with that on an ongoing basis? We watched a movie about it, and it was just devastating to me. Watching the movie about what people that lived out there then went through, I don't think I could have done it. I really don't think I could have done it.
Well, you never know what you're capable of
until you're faced with it.
You do.
How many people, Scott? How many friends, Scott? If you had to guesstimate, how many friends did you see succumb to the AIDS epidemic?
Oh God, 60 at least 60 that I knew well.
How many funerals did you think would you say you attended?
Oh, wow. I went to 30 of them, 40 of them. A lot of times there wasn't really a formal funeral. It would just
like a memorial, because the family whisked them off who didn't. Right. That was a part of the story of the movie. So
people would have and they would drink to their honor, and it was a bar culture. So
it was a bar culture. So how do you feel today? Let's talk about this, and then we're going to go for a short break after you answer this question, just a minute or two, and we'll be back to round out the rest of the interview. Let me ask you, how do you feel today when you watch shows like RuPaul's Drag Race, or you go to Hecklina's Club that she used to have in San Francisco? And because a lot of the Drag Race queens would come there first, I heard. Once right off the show, straight over there. So what is it? What do you think now when you see what these girls today are dealing with and how they're doing it, and what's available to them in comparison to what you guys had to deal with?
Well, I'd have to say I try not to be bitter about it, because I feel like so many of the things that the adulation that they get is so easily attained for them. And I mean, they're not doing anything that hasn't already been done before, but they happen to be doing it at a time when it's at a peak, and it's easy to become an internet celebrity and have but at the same token, it's a double-edged sword. You can easily be canceled. Like Sherry Pie comes to mind, if you know who that was.
Yeah.
And
right. And I want to ask you about that. Thank you for bringing. Oh, honey, we're going to talk about Cherry Pie. He said, yeah.
Well,
I mean, we've had straight people. I don't know why they think we know RuPaul or something, because people were sending us texts and stuff. Can you explain what happened with Cherry Pie? What happened with Cherry Pie? What did Cherry Pie do? So we get on. My husband goes on. We find out, but we're going to talk about that. But before we go on a break, let me ask you, and then we can come back. We're going to talk about Cherry Pie, and we're going to talk about a couple other things. But I want to know from you, because I wonder about this all the time when I'm watching shows like RuPaul's, you never hear them refer to the shoulders that they stand on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I remember when we used to sit and watch Divine, and we were like, oh, bitch. You know what I mean? She's got a movie. She's doing this. The whole story. They even made a movie about her afterwards. and all this. And then, Sylvester and all the shoulders that people stand on today. Do you feel like a lot of that has fallen through the cracks as far as these young people, these young ones, these young girls that are coming up?
Absolutely, definitely. I've met young people who don't even know who David Bowie was, and he was alive a few years ago. You know,
Right.
it's, and as far as I guess in their defense, I'd have to say we live in an age of unbelievable information pouring at us at all times. So, I mean, I don't know who a lot of the current celebrities now that have gotten their fame on the internet and stuff like that. So it's overwhelming, really, as opposed to keep track of everybody.
Right.
But and I think that younger people are more focused on what is in front of them right now. So whoever they're fans of, most of the time, I wouldn't really know who they are talking about. So it's just, I mean, it's a different age. That's all I can
Certainly
say.
is. It is.
There was when I was young at one point too, and I would meet older queens when I was younger, and they'd say, "Oh, girl, back in my day, things were different," And of course, that's the cycle of life.
As she drew on her Saratoga 100. Let me tell you.
Exactly.
Let me tell you how it was.
You
Right?
kids today,
I already
don't
know.
know, so.
I already know. Listen, when we come back, I'm going to ask Scott about. It's interesting enough because I had it here on my pad. I promise that I was going to ask Scott, our guest tonight, about cherry pie because I think that cherry pie is a similar persona of what I've seen when I did the research on you, Scott. That same category. If we were, you know what I mean. And I want to ask you about that, but we'll be back in just a moment. Don't go anywhere, and we're gonna find out what the cherry pie story really is. Okay, be right back.
Well, I'm not an expert, but
that's okay. I just want your
opinion. I know less than you do.
I know you do, but well, I have some theories. So anyway,
okay.
We'll be right back.
Sure.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Bathroom Moments After Dark. I'm your host, Laura Michaels Harrison. My guest tonight, Scott C. Free from San Francisco. Scott, before we went to break, I know we're going to get back to the cherry pie thing, but I want to ask you something else first. You're out there. I have always wanted to be in San Francisco during June, during Pride. I have never been to a gay pride parade. Never. It has never worked out. No, it's never worked out where I'm like near one.
Even in Chicago?
No, I'm never here when that happens. And again, this year I was here, but I wasn't going down there. I mean, I don't even think they had one.
Did they even have one?
I don't think they had one. They did a virtual something. But
Yeah.
what was it like in San Francisco for the month of June? Because that's like Mecca
Uh-huh.
for people like
Oh yeah.
me. You know what I mean? I love Nob Hill. I would say it's Roosevelt. I love that place. I love Fisherman's Wharf, Chinatown, all of it. But I've
Well,
never been there in June. What's it like? And how was it different this year because of COVID?
oh well, I mean, it's well, nobody's doing anything at all. I mean, we canceled our all of our Pride events, so
Everything.
people are doing virtual things, which I'm not really a big fan of that. It just feels, it's just like what we were talking about earlier about that feeling of connection with an
Mm-hmm.
audience. There's nothing to to compare that to. So
Mm-hmm.
when you're on a video phone and you're just communicating that way, there's like, I don't know, it feels kind of empty compared
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
being in the same group. I mean,
Yeah,
we are social animals. That's what human beings are supposed to be
we
doing.
really are.
So that
That's a good
this is
point.
truly an experiment.
It
and
is.
and
Back at the beginning of COVID, I'm friends with, I can't remember his name. He was in one of my audiences when I spoke in San Diego. He's got blonde hair. Oh, like he's the only one. African American kid. He's a drag queen, female impersonator. But way back at like the first couple weeks inside, I even set an alarm and got up because I'm in Chicago. I got
uh,
up. It was like 1 a.m. for me. I got up because they were doing a virtual drag show. And I was like, how is this going to work? I want to see, is there a difference when the performer, because I know you feed on the energy. It's like American Idol. They all had,
yeah.
all those poor kids that had to perform from their garages or living rooms. It's not the same experience. So, and it was interesting that afterwards, the host of the show, hostess, she was like asking each performer, how was this? Was this hard for you? And they were all saying it was so weird because there was
Yeah.
no one here. And so, how do you feel? How do you feel this COVID-19, this pandemic, and everything that with this new normal? Let's just use that one. This new normal, if you will. How do you think this is going to affect the world of female impersonation and performances? Um, if we can't get back to people being packed into the room, running up there and making it rain on a bitch. You know what I'm saying? What is that
Yeah.
going to do? How does that bode for the future of female impersonation?
Well, I think it's going to basically, if I mean, unless we have a vaccine or some new, something's got to give sooner or later. But what I've seen so far, after what are we, about 5 months in, 6 months in now?
Mm-hmm.
Um, people, I think drag in itself has become so mainstream now that there's really nothing remarkable about it anymore. And I mean, and I don't say that
Well,
in
kind of.
a
You're
negative
saying
way.
that because you're inside of it.
Yeah.
You
And
know
I mean,
all
and
that. But to
I
us
still
who are like looking at it, it's like, wow. I
well,
mean,
like a drag queen today is kind of like the equivalent of a children's party clown, and I say that because I got booked to be a drag queen at a children's birthday party. So,
they
and I
brought
did
in
it
a
again.
drag queen as a children's
Yeah,
at
this
a
was. I mean,
children's birthday
she was
party.
an unusual. She was an unusual child, but she wanted to. I think a lot of these
She said, "I
fans.
want a drag queen, mommy."
Yeah, because you see, they watch Drag Race, and they love the show, and very young
I kind of
girls,
like that.
preteen girls love drag queens, and that's fun. I mean, if you're a performer, you go where the audience is.
Absolutely.
So, um, but
Wow, I would
but
not have known that. So wait a minute, but then how did that make you what were you thinking? Were you thinking like on one hand, yes, this is good because we're teaching the children, blah blah
uh,
blah, or did you
well, I
feel
think
like
it's
is this what
yeah,
we've sent
I don't
to?
know. I think it's more fun to be edgy and kind of on the outside in a way. There's something
I do
appealing,
too.
but
I do too. I do too.
but uh,
Absolutely.
uh, things are alternatives that become mainstream, if you know what I mean. And
I
so
do. I
things
do.
that things that used to be avant-garde are considered pretty average and ordinary now. So,
Hmm.
but
Scott,
at the same
have
time,
Go ahead.
We're going.
Finish.
There's a serious regression happening with the things that I've seen the Trump supporters do, and I mean it's just astonishing to me. And we've gotten so used to seeing these outrageous things that
You made me put on my sunglasses. I'm, you know, at the risk of looking like like a cracked out R. Kelly, I'm still putting them on. I'm just saying, it's like when you mention Trump, I gotta go somewhere.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to invoke.
It's okay. It's okay.
But,
where's my church fan? I'll
yeah.
get it together. Let me ask you this: out there in San Francisco, the land of good and plenty, Skittlesville, however you need to look at it. Tell me this. Be honest. Here's my fan. Be honest, Scott. How many people do you know that have tested positive for COVID-19?
I don't know anyone, to be honest. But I mean, a few of my Facebook friends have.
But not so. It's not like everybody. Because see, you're out there in the same place as you were when the AIDS epidemic came rushing through like a herd of elephants. And I'm just curious because I've heard a couple people kind of like put these two things, you know, that have lived through. But it was a nurse. It was a nurse. Actually, when we went out to dinner for the first time after they started relaxing things, and we were like scared of everybody. My husband and I were like, "Don't look over here. We're not taking our masks off." It was like eat underneath the mask. We were ridiculous. But then halfway through,
how can you eat or drink
margaritas?
Yeah, here's my mask.
See what I'm saying? But the nurse was saying, she goes, "Listen, this doesn't affect me." And I was interested because she worked at an assisted living center, right? She was the director of nursing. They had zero positive cases, like you're talking about. And I said, she goes, "I was 2 and 3 weeks ahead of everything that the CDC put out." And her whole staff was sitting there too. They go, "Yep." She was locking family members out before they said do it. But she said, I said, "Well, what made you so intuitive about it? Where did you get this?" She goes, "Because I was just starting my career during the AIDS crisis. When I would walk in a room without a mask and gown on, and the patient would say, 'Aren't you afraid of me?' And she would go, 'Why? I don't plan on getting in bed and having sex with you.' And she goes, and he would say, you know, 'But everybody that comes in here treats me like a monster.'" And so she was talking about the similarities between the COVID experience and the AIDS experience. And I just wonder, since you were there for both, you're there for both, and you know nobody that's COVID, so you obviously know no one that has passed away from it. And I can't say that. I know one family that's got 6 people that died from it.
You do.
All contracted it at the same party. Yeah. I did a special on it.
I certainly am open to learning the true facts, and I know I don't deny that it exists. I think there's a lot to be said about wearing the masks, and I think that when we're speaking and breathing, you know, that's how flu and cold are spread. So
right.
But there's still a lot of things we don't know. What's disturbing is all the ignorance around it and all the hostile reactions to wearing a mask and doing the things that you're supposed to do.
Right.
To try to contain things. But
so, Scott, when was the last time you dressed up in drag since COVID came around? When was the last time? And are you itching to get back in those pumps?
Well, actually, I don't mind.
True.
It's been nice to take a break, because if I did do it now, it would just be for like an online thing. And I had somebody who booked me for to do reading stories in drag online, and then they canceled the event. So I came close to doing drag, but
you did come close. So
I haven't had a wig on. The last thing I did was I did a stand-up show. God, what was it? Probably when did we get locked down? Was that March? So
middle of March.
It was like the
12th.
The earlier part of March. I did my stand-up in drag.
So how long do you think do they ever tell a queen, "Girl, it's time to sit it down. We're putting you out to pasture. You know, you are Mom's Mabley is not gonna be your next role." So when does a drag queen ever have to expire? Is there an expiration date, or can they take it all the way to the upper room? How do you feel about that? How long do you think you'll be performing?
I think a person who's inclined to be a drag queen is also inclined to keep on keeping on until the bitter end and to go out.
Just keep doing it. If you got to look like Tammy Faye,
Yeah, I mean,
or whoever.
the drag queens that were older when I was a kid who eventually died, they kept doing drag all the way up to the day that they were in a hospice care.
Wow.
Well, actually, I had a friend of mine named Nikki Starr, who was actually pretty well known in San Francisco, and
I've heard that
she
name.
Nikki Starr, yeah, she was
Yeah, I've
wonderful.
heard that name.
She was wonderful. She was very old school and very polished and poised, but she would still come to our club at the Stud, which was definitely sloppy and messy and crazy and drunk. But she was
Girl.
happy for her audience, and the audience loved her. And she, God, she must have been just about to turn 70. And of course, she had been HIV positive for a very long time, and
Mm.
we would go visit her in the hospice, and
Mm-hmm.
she would